You're not a princess.
Meghan mad as hell as Piers Morgan continues to give brutal words to her. In the world of British royalty and media, one headline stands out. You're not a princess. Piers Morgan has again criticized Meghan Markle, sparking a global debate. This isn't just about fame. It's about identity, fame's challenges, and our own expectations. But what's Meghan's anger about, and why does Piers keep speaking his mind? Let's explore the Piers versus Meghan saga. What's really going on? Imagine a royal wedding, with the world watching. A prince and an actress, living their dream.
But their story isn't a fairy tale ending.
Instead, it's filled with media clashes and Piers Morgan's harsh words for Meghan. Why does Piers keep going after Meghan? Piers Morgan, the no-holds-barred critic.
Piers Morgan is known for speaking his mind. He's direct and sometimes brutal.
He's been critical of Meghan, calling her actions self-centered and attention-seeking.
This isn't just about Piers being harsh.
It's about something deeper. The Meghan Markle paradox, royal but not royal enough?
Meghan's story is unique.
An American actress in the British royal family is like a movie, but she faced huge expectations.
Some saw her as a modern force, while others saw her as an outsider.
Isn't this what we all face? Trying to fit into roles that don't feel right?
Cue the battle of public perception. The media loves to divide, and Meghan is a prime example.
She's seen as a modern princess by some and a manipulator by others. Piers Morgan is in the latter camp, always pointing out her flaws.
Why does Meghan's story matter to us?
Meghan's journey is about identity and belonging.
It's about feeling like an imposter.
We've all felt like we don't belong at some point.
Meghan's story is a human struggle.
It's about being true to ourselves versus fitting into others' expectations.
And what about the "you're not a princess" comment?
Piers Morgan said, "You're not a princess," which might seem harsh.
But let's look closer.
He meant Meghan doesn't have the official title of princess. Yet, his words also carry a judgment, suggesting she doesn't meet the princess ideal.
But who decides what a princess should be?
The ideal princess, reality versus fantasy. Remember Disney movies?
Princesses were always perfect. But real life isn't like that.
Even princesses have flaws and make choices that aren't always liked. What does society expect from a princess? When Meghan married into the royal family, people expected a certain image. She was expected to smile, wear a tiara, and stay quiet. Meghan didn't follow these rules, which upset Piers Morgan. Do we want a perfect princess or someone real? Someone who speaks their truth, even if it's hard? It's easy to expect perfection from Meghan or anyone famous. But perfection is a myth.
Meghan's story is refreshing because she's not perfect.
When critics become personal, why the Meghan-Piers feud feels different.
Criticism is part of public life.
But the Meghan versus Piers feud feels personal. It's not just about criticism, it's about personal feelings.
Is there more to the story?
Piers Morgan claims Meghan ghosted him before she met Harry.
This might explain his harsh criticism. It adds a personal layer to their feud.
The challenge of navigating public criticism.
Dealing with criticism is hard.
It's even harder when it's from strangers online. Meghan faces this every day. But Meghan shows strength by not letting criticism consume her.
She stands tall despite the attacks.
This is a lesson for all of us. So, what's next for Meghan? The drama between Meghan and Piers Morgan won't stop.
Meghan will keep making headlines.
The real question is, what's next for her? Stepping away from the noise.
Meghan and Harry are living life on their own terms. They've stepped back from royal duties and moved to California. They are focusing on their own projects. What does this mean for you?
Meghan's story is about resilience against constant judgment.
We all face judgment and pressure to fit into a mold.
Meghan shows us how to write our own story. How do you handle pressure to be someone you're not? Do you fit into a box or write your own story like Meghan? The takeaway: writing your own story. If there's one thing we can take from the Meghan Markle versus Piers Morgan feud, it's this: no one gets to define who you are except you. Sure, there will be critics along the way. People who tell you you're not enough, or that you're too much. But at the end of the day, your life isn't about living up to someone else's expectations. Meghan may not be a princess by Piers Morgan's definition, but she's defining her life on her own terms. And in a world that's constantly trying to put us in boxes, isn't that the most royal thing of all?
Final thoughts and call to action.
We've covered a lot: identity, public perception, the weight of expectations, and how to rise above it all. Meghan Markle's journey reminds us that criticism is inevitable, but our response to it is what shapes our narrative. So, the next time you find yourself facing judgment or feeling like you don't belong, ask yourself, What story do you want to tell? Join the conversation.
Do you think Meghan's handling her critics well? What's your take on the ongoing Piers-Morgan drama? Share your thoughts, and let's continue this dialogue. Sure.
Let's keep this momentum going and take a deeper dive into how Meghan's journey mirrors the challenges that so many of us face in our personal and professional lives. There's a lot we can unpack from this high-profile saga, and more importantly, a lot we can learn from it.
Let's continue.
When the spotlight won't turn off. The cost of public life. Imagine this, every move you make is scrutinized. Whether you're getting coffee, attending a public event, or making a life-changing decision, there's always someone watching, ready to judge. That's the reality for Meghan, and really, for any public figure. But here's the thing, we're all subject to our own version of the spotlight, aren't we? In a world dominated by Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, it often feels like everyone is living in the public eye. Think about it. How many times have you hesitated before posting a picture or sharing a thought online because you were worried about what others might think? Even if we're not in Meghan's shoes, the pressure of public perception is real for all of us. One of the biggest challenges of being in the public eye, whether you're an actual celebrity or just navigating your social circles, is vulnerability. Sharing your thoughts, your passions, or even your mistakes can feel like an invitation for criticism. And when that criticism comes, it can sting, even if you've built up a thick skin. Here's where Meghan's experience can be a valuable lesson. Despite the relentless media scrutiny, she's spoken out about her mental health, the challenges of adapting to royal life, and even her struggles with self-doubt.
That kind of openness is hard, but it's also powerful.
Vulnerability may feel risky, but it's often the very thing that connects us to others. Meghan's willingness to be open about her struggles has sparked important conversations about mental health, motherhood, and the pressures women face in the public sphere. So, the next time you're tempted to hide your true self out of fear of judgment, think of this: vulnerability might just be your superpower. While Meghan has been the subject of relentless criticism, she's also demonstrated an incredible understanding of how to shape her own narrative. From her bombshell interview with Oprah to her podcast and upcoming projects, Meghan is reclaiming her story, one project at a time. If there's one thing Meghan has mastered, it's the art of storytelling. Her interview with Oprah wasn't just a sit-down conversation, it was a strategic move to shift the narrative in her favor. It was raw, emotional, and unfiltered, providing a stark contrast to the often one-sided media portrayal of her. In Meghan's case, the British tabloids were all too happy to paint her in a negative light. But she recognized that if she wanted to change that perception, she'd need to take control. And that's exactly what she's done, using every tool at her disposal to set the record straight. In our own lives, we may not have Oprah or a global platform, but we do have the power to tell our story in a way that reflects who we truly are. Whether it's through conversations with friends, the way we present ourselves online, or even how we talk to ourselves, we have the ability to shape our narrative. If you feel like your story has been hijacked, think about how to take it back. What truths do you need to share? What parts of your journey deserve more recognition? You don't have to wait for someone else to validate your experience. You get to decide what parts of your story are most important. Most of us won't face the level of criticism Meghan does.
But we all have Piers-Morgans in our lives.
These are people who question our choices, criticize our actions, or doubt our abilities.
The question is, how do we handle it?
We all know a Piers, that person who seems to thrive on pointing out your flaws or second-guessing your decisions. Whether it's a boss, a family member, or an acquaintance, their criticisms can be exhausting and demoralizing.
So how do we deal with these types of people?
Here are some actionable tips you can take from Meghan's playbook. Don't engage every battle. Meghan doesn't respond to every single criticism thrown her way. Instead, she chooses her moments carefully, speaking out when it matters most. Sometimes, the best response to a critic is no response at all. Lean on your support system. Meghan has openly talked about how her relationship with Harry, along with close friends and family, has been her anchor during tough times.
Surround yourself with people who lift you up rather than tear you down.
3. Stay focused on your goals. It's easy to get sidetracked by criticism, but Meghan's continued focus on her charitable work, media projects, and advocacy shows that staying aligned with your purpose can drown out the noise. 4. Use criticism as fuel. Rather than letting the harsh words of others break her, Meghan seems to use them as fuel to push forward. In the same way, we can choose to let criticism motivate us to prove the doubters wrong. The bigger picture: how Meghan's story reflects societal challenges. Beyond the personal dynamics between Meghan and Piers, their ongoing feud highlights some larger societal issues. Meghan's story touches on themes of race, gender expectations, and how women are treated in positions of power. It's not just a tabloid headline, it's a reflection of how society treats women who don't conform to traditional roles. It's no secret that women in the public eye are often held to unfair standards. Whether it's how they dress, how they speak, or the choices they make, women tend to face more intense scrutiny than their male counterparts. Meghan's experiences are a prime example of this double standard. Her every move has been dissected and criticized in ways that male members of the royal family never have been. There's also no denying that Meghan's biracial identity plays a role in how she's been treated by the media. From the outset, she's faced a barrage of racist undertones in the press, adding an extra layer of complexity to the public's perception of her. What does this mean for us? Meghan's experiences serve as a reminder of the importance of empathy and understanding in how we judge others. It's a call to question the narratives we're fed by the media and to look deeper before forming opinions about public figures, or anyone, really. As we wrap up this deep dive into the ongoing Meghan Markle and Piers Morgan feud, it's clear that this is more than just a tabloid spectacle. It's a story that resonates with many of us on a personal level. It's about identity, criticism, resilience, and the power of storytelling. Meghan has faced unimaginable pressure, criticism, and challenges, yet she continues to stand firm, redefine her narrative, and live life on her own terms.
And that's something we can all learn from. Your call to action.
So, where do you go from here? Take a page from Meghan's book and ask yourself these key questions. How can you reclaim your own story and define your identity on your own terms? Are there Piers Morgans in your life that you need to ignore or stand up to? What's one step you can take today to build your resilience in the face of criticism? Most importantly, share your thoughts. This conversation is just getting started, and your perspective matters.